Hi there, good morning everyone. Good morning, this is Liz Davis. I am a nutritionist and I specialise in digestive health for busy women. So I help busy women fix their IBS, bloating, reflux, heartburn, painful digestion, and any kind of related hormone issues. And I do this with state-of-the-art gut and hormone testing and dietary and lifestyle upgrades to gently bring things back into balance for you and get you feeling back to your old self again. So I was going to talk about something a little bit related to gut health, but not entirely, but a lot of people are affected by this. So it's kind of a big area to focus on as well. And that is insulin resistance, which is tied up in, a lot of other conditions as well. So what is it? How can you avoid it? And, what dietary changes can you make to make sure this either you can stop it in its tracks before it progresses into something worse, or you can just stop it happening altogether. So basically what happens then is when you eat any food, your body needs to get the glucose from that food to where it needs to go. So this is where insulin comes in. So insulin facilitates this process. So insulin will take the glucose from your food and make sure it's absorbed effectively by your muscles, your liver, and your fat cells. So when this process breaks down, you end up with a case of insulin resistance, which can then evolve into pre-diabetes, diabetes, etc. So it's very important to nip this in the bud if you suspect that it may be affecting you. So additionally, when you eat any food, if the energy from that food is surplus to requirements at that time, then the energy can be stored in your muscles and fat cells later on, in your liver for later on, and insulin facilitates this as well. So what happens is basically when you eat any particularly high sugar foods, your pancreas has to go flat out secreting enough insulin to make sure that the glucose gets to where you want it to go. Because some foods, obviously, if you eat something very sugary, that's a lot of carbohydrate and glucose that your body has to deal with. So along comes the insulin and does its best to get it to where it needs to go. So if it does that too much and too frequently, your pancreas will just give up the ghost at some point, and it just is going to stop producing it. And then when that happens, you end up with lots of glucose in your blood. You end up with diabetes or type 2 diabetes, which obviously is not ideal, and will need to be managed usually with medications. So what can you do to avoid this happening? So there's 6 main areas to focus on, which I will go through now. So first up, what's your carbohydrate intake? So if you are somebody who does very well on not eating carbs or eating very low levels of carbs, that's absolutely fine. You can continue doing that. Most people, however, I think benefit from eating a certain level of carbohydrate foods. It's the kind of carbohydrate foods that you want to be careful of. So if you take your carbohydrate intake down too low, that's going to really have a very negative impact on your microbiome as well. So that's something to be aware of and something we want to be avoiding, because obviously there's lots of other problems that can evolve from having a suboptimal microbiome. So concentrate on really healthy carbohydrate foods. So whole grains would be ideal. So things like brown rice, sweet potatoes, and just avoiding things that are refined too much. Quinoa would be a good example, for instance. And also, if you find you are very sensitive to sugar fluctuations and things like that, I would stick to the whole grains rather than any kind of flours, because the flours are going to be absorbed a lot quicker, and you just need that fibre in your system to blunt the response of the insulin and stop your blood sugar spiking too rapidly and too quickly. Next up, I would be avoiding sweet drinks. So for example, we might think that fruit juice is a good option because it's got lots of minerals and vitamins and it seems to be very natural. Again, it's the fibre thing. There's got no fibre in there at all, or very little, so it's got nothing there to blunt that sugar response. So your blood sugar is going to go up very rapidly, and then your pancreas is going to have to secrete a lot of insulin to bring it back down again. So that's something that we want to avoid. Additionally, I would be avoiding anything like fizzy drinks, very sugary fizzy drinks, or adding any kind of sugar or anything like that into your teas and coffees and things. So next up, focus on high fibre foods. So fibre, as I mentioned, is going to really blunt that glucose response. It's going to stop the glucose being absorbed very quickly into your bloodstream. So stick to high fibre foods, as I mentioned already. Brown rice, quinoa, sweet potatoes, lots of fruit and vegetables in their natural state. Don't juice them, or try, don't make very, very kind of sugary juices. You can have vegetable juices with a little bit of sweet stuff in it, but not predominantly sweet stuff. Lots of legumes as well, avocados, etc. are all great sources of nice fibres. So next up, eat healthy fats. So avoid any kind of fats from processed foods and eat fats such as oily fish, nuts, seeds, avocados again, extra virgin olive oil. Those are all nice healthy fats, and avoid too much in the way of super processed foods, which will be containing damaged fats, hydrogenated fats, which of course are not great for your health. Next up, make sure you focus on good quality protein. Protein is of course having a moment. Everywhere you look in the supermarket, there's protein, this, that and the other, high protein, this, that and the other. So again, a lot of these foods are not great, but that's a whole other subject. So stick to natural high protein foods, meats, fish, etc., pulses and things like that, to make sure you're getting adequate levels of protein, because again, the proteins absorb much more slowly, and that's going to stop your blood sugar spiking. And next up, just avoid overeating. If you can do that, if you can stop overeating, which you should be able to if you follow those rules and you're making sure you're eating from the main food groups and plenty of it, it should stop you craving and stop you having, craving high sugar foods and getting on that blood sugar roller coaster, and could, stop overeating so that you're not doing all those things and creating a problem for your body to process all that glucose that's coming through. Okay, so I hope you found that useful, and if you did, do like and share, and I shall see you next time. Okay, bye.